The sun had just dipped below the horizon, and the neon sign of Colin's Diner buzzed faintly as the evening crowd shuffled in. The small-town diner was a familiar landmark on Route 66, a place where travelers and locals mingled under the warm glow of hanging lamps and the comforting smell of fried chicken, bacon grease, and black coffee. For many in town, it was more than just a restaurant, it was the gathering place, where gossip circulated as quickly as the coffee pot passed from booth to booth. Behind the counter, Maggie Thompson, a 27-year-old waitress with chestnut hair tied back in a bun, moved swiftly between tables. She carried herself with quiet grace, balancing plates stacked with burgers and fries while remembering every detail of her regular customers' orders. "Extra pickles, no onions, right, Tom?" she said cheerfully to the local mechanic, who nodded, impressed as always with her memory. Maggie wasn't just a waitress, she was a lifeline for her family. Her mother had passed away years ago, and her younger brother, Daniel, was now in his second year of college. Maggie worked double shifts to help cover his tuition, and though her shoes pinched and her back ached, she never complained. She believed hard work and kindness always came back around, even if it sometimes felt like the world didn't notice. But not everyone at the diner shared Maggie's outlook. From behind the counter, Mr. Collins, the owner and manager, watched every move with hawk-like precision. He was a man in his late 50s, sharp-eyed and quick-tempered, whose main concern was protecting his business image. To him, reputation mattered more than compassion. He wanted a diner that appealed to respectable folks, families, retirees, truckers passing through. Anyone who looked rough around the edges made him uneasy. That's why, when the bell over the diner door jingled and 6 burly bikers strode in, the atmosphere shifted like a cold wind. Their heavy boots clomped against the tiled floor. Leather jackets glistened with road dust and patches from motorcycle rallies. Tattoos ran down their arms, and their beards framed faces weathered by the open road. The regulars froze mid-bite. A mother pulled her young daughter closer. Whispered judgments spread like wildfire through the booths. "Troublemakers. Probably drunk. They'll cause a scene, you'll see." Mr. Collins stiffened. He leaned toward Maggie and hissed under his breath, "Don't serve them. Let them leave on their own." Maggie glanced at him, her brow furrowing. "Why? They're customers like anyone else. They'll scare off the decent folk," he growled. "We don't need their kind here." But Maggie didn't see their kind. She saw tired men who had probably ridden for hours, dust coating their boots and hunger evident in their eyes. She believed every person deserved respect, no matter how they dressed or what people assumed about them. She straightened her apron, plastered on her warmest smile, and walked confidently toward the group. The diner was dead silent. Forks clinked against plates as everyone strained to hear what would happen. "Welcome to Colin's Diner, gentlemen," Maggie said brightly. "Can I get you started with some coffee?" The bikers exchanged surprised looks. They weren't used to being greeted so kindly, especially in a town that clearly bristled at their presence. Their leader, a tall man with a salt and pepper beard and a scar along his cheek, finally spoke. His voice was low, respectful. "You got it, ma'am. Coffee all around. And maybe a couple of burgers if the grill's still hot." Maggie beamed. "Grill's always hot. I'll have those right out." As she poured steaming cups of coffee and took their orders, something unexpected happened. The bikers relaxed. They chuckled among themselves, telling road stories and laughing heartily. When Maggie set down their plates, they thanked her politely, even addressing her as "ma'am." One of them even tipped his cap. But not everyone saw what Maggie saw. From across the diner, Mr. Collins glared, his face reddening by the second. Customers muttered their disapproval. "Can you believe she's serving them? She's encouraging this. This place is going downhill." Maggie ignored the stares. She listened as one of the bikers joked about getting lost in the desert, and she laughed, genuine and warm. For a brief moment, the tension in the air eased, at least at their table. When the men finished, they stacked their plates neatly, left a generous tip, and stood. "Thanks for the hospitality, ma'am," their leader said sincerely. "Not many places treat us decent. You've got a good heart." Maggie smiled softly. "Safe travels, gentlemen." They filed out quietly, without incident. But the moment the door closed, Mr. Collins stormed from behind the counter, his face like thunder. "Maggie. Office. Now." The entire diner hushed, eyes glued to the confrontation. Maggie wiped her hands on her apron and stood tall. "Yes, Mr. Collins. You're finished," he snapped. Her eyes widened. "Finished? For what? You disobeyed a direct order. I told you not to serve them. People like that don't belong in my diner. They'll ruin the reputation I've built here." Maggie swallowed hard, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. "Mr. Collins, they were paying customers. Hungry men who treated me with respect. I did my job. Is kindness really a fireable offense?" The manager's lip curled. "Don't lecture me about kindness. You're done here. Clear out your locker." Gasps rippled through the diner. Even a few regulars looked uneasy, but no one dared speak up. Maggie's heart pounded, but she refused to bow her head. Slowly, she untied her apron, folded it neatly, and placed it on the counter. She looked Mr. Collins straight in the eye. "If treating people with dignity means I don't belong here, then maybe I never did," she said firmly. She turned and walked out, the bell above the door jingling one last time behind her. Outside, the night air was cool against her flushed cheeks. The glow of the neon sign flickered above her, casting her shadow long on the pavement. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew one thing: she had done the right thing. Inside, the diner buzzed with uneasy whispers. And though Mr. Collins tried to brush it off, there was a gnawing sense in the air that firing Maggie would soon prove to be his biggest mistake. The next morning, the sun rose golden over Main Street, casting long beams of light across the quiet town. Mr. Collins unlocked the doors to his diner as he did every day, convinced that the events of the previous night would soon be forgotten. Maggie was gone, and in his mind, customers would thank him for keeping order. But things didn't go as he expected. By 8 a.m., instead of the usual line of farmers, retirees, and truckers, the diner's parking lot was strangely empty. Not a single car pulled in. No chatter of regulars filled the air. Collins frowned, glancing nervously at the clock. Strange, maybe they're just running late. Then he heard it. The low, unmistakable rumble of engines. At first, it was just one motorcycle, then another. Then 10. Then dozens. Within minutes, the sound grew into a rolling thunder that shook the windows. Collins rushed to the front door and froze. An entire column of motorcycles stretched down Main Street, glistening in the sunlight. Chrome sparkled, black leather jackets bore patches with symbols, and the bikers who had visited last night were now joined by many more. Some estimates later said nearly 50 bikes lined the street. But they weren't rowdy. They weren't revving aggressively or blocking traffic. They parked neatly, side by side, and stepped off their bikes with quiet purpose. A crowd quickly gathered, shop owners, curious townsfolk, even the local news station after word spread on social media. Phones were out, cameras rolled, and whispers filled the air. At the head of the group stood the same biker leader from the night before. He held a large sign made from cardboard, painted in bold black letters. "Justice for Maggie." The sight made Colin's stomach sink. The biker stepped forward, speaking loud enough for the reporters' microphones to catch. "We came here last night, tired and hungry. Most folks in this diner looked at us like we didn't belong. But one woman, Maggie, treated us with respect. She laughed with us. She served us like any paying customer deserves. And what happened? She was fired. For showing kindness." The crowd murmured in disapproval. Colin's face turned beet red. The biker continued, pointing directly at the diner. "We've been judged our whole lives for how we look. Leather jackets, tattoos, motorcycles, people think that means we're criminals. But Maggie saw past that. She saw human beings. And she lost her job for it. That ain't right." Applause broke out. The bikers raised their fists, nodding in solidarity. Reporters scribbled notes, and one cameraman live-streamed the entire scene. Within hours, the video would spread online, gathering thousands of views. Inside the diner, only a handful of customers had dared to come that morning. Seeing the crowd outside, they slipped out the back, not wanting to be associated with Colin's decision. The diner, once bustling, was eerily empty. Across the street, a new banner was being unfurled. The bikers had rented the vacant storefront overnight, pooling their money together. A massive white sheet stretched across the windows with bold red letters painted across it. "Maggie's Place, opening soon." When Maggie arrived, summoned by a phone call from one of the bikers, her jaw dropped. She had no idea what awaited her. As she stepped out of her old pickup truck, still wearing the same humble clothes from the night before, the crowd erupted in cheers. People clapped, bikers whistled, and news cameras turned toward her. "Wait, what is all this?" she asked, stunned. The biker leader stepped forward, grinning. "Maggie, last night you showed us respect when no one else did. That meant more to us than you'll ever know. So we decided to do something about it. This," he gestured toward the storefront, "is yours. We pitched in for the deposit, the rent, even the first few months of supplies. It's time you had a place where kindness rules the menu." Maggie's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. I can't accept this. I wouldn't even know how to run a diner." Another biker, a burly man with a kind smile, stepped up. "You don't have to know it all right now. You just need to lead with the same heart you showed us. The rest, we'll help with. We've got guys who can cook, others who can do repairs, even a few who know business. You won't be alone." The crowd cheered again. "Maggie's place! Maggie's place!" they chanted. Across the street, Collins watched in horror from behind the diner's window. His own parking lot was empty, while across the way, people flocked to support Maggie. Customers he once counted on for steady business crossed the road to shake Maggie's hand, offering encouragement. Within days, the story made headlines in local and regional papers. "Waitress fired for serving bikers, community responds. Kindness sparks new business, Maggie's place to open. Don't judge a book by its cover, Motorcycle Club. Defends fired waitress. Donations poured in online. Volunteers showed up to paint the walls, install booths, and clean the kitchen equipment. Even the bikers rolled up their sleeves, fixing the plumbing and wiring with the same hands that once gripped handlebars." When Maggie's place officially opened a month later, it wasn't just a diner, it was a symbol. The grand opening was packed. Families, travelers, and yes, bikers, all sat side by side enjoying burgers, pies, and fresh brewed coffee. On the wall, framed proudly, was a motto painted in bold letters. "Right finger, respect everyone. Judge no one." Maggie, wearing a new apron embroidered with her name, worked the floor with a radiant smile. The bikers acted as both her friends and her protectors, ensuring that no one would ever intimidate her again. Meanwhile, across the street, Collins' diner sat nearly deserted. The neon sign still flickered, but its tables were empty, its reputation shattered. Locals had turned their backs on him, preferring to eat where compassion, not prejudice, set the tone. One evening, Collins stood at his counter, staring out the window at the packed crowd across the street. For the first time, he realized what he had lost, not just his best waitress but the respect of an entire community. As for Maggie, she never forgot the lesson. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you in the short run, but kindness always finds a way to come back stronger. Her diner became known up and down the highway as a safe haven for all, families, truckers, travelers, and yes, even the toughest-looking bikers. And so the town learned a lesson it would never forget. Right finger, don't judge people by their appearance. Kindness is never wasted. Respect given is respect returned.